Are you building your own tiny home, but the more you get into it, the more complicated it seems? Then come along with us as we navigate you through all the options and restrictions, helping you make this dream come true. Let's go. Hey guys, Musa here from Quantum Home Improvements and Solutions. Welcome back. And if this is your first time to our channel, it's great having you join us. And so now we're up to stage 8 of this tiny home construction, which is not so tiny. And if you haven't seen the stages prior to this, I'll put a link for them in the descriptions below. And so stage 1 is where we made the base using Orcon and priority steel. And stage 2 is where we made the walls and stood them up with a heap of guys and finished off the ceilings. And stage 3 is where we made the retractable decking and then put the timber on. And so stage 4 is where we finished off the structure using MGP 10 timbers, which I got from my mate Tony from DNA Plastering. But I also got Charlie from Top Notch Plumbing to do the sewer, and we also put the windows and the sliding door in, which we got from Bradnan Windows. And then stage 5, we then lined the outside with Colorbond steel, which we got from Steel Roofing Supply Centre, which turned out amazing. And stage 6 is then when we painted the universal beams, we put the flooring on, we finished off the internal walls, we had Charlie from Top Notch Plumbing come back and do the roughings, and then in collaboration with Hume Doors, we put on their internal cavity sliding door system. And finally in stage 7, I had my mate Danny, the electrician, come and run all the wires. Daniel from Darnie Air Conditioning came and nominated where the air conditioning is going to go. Then we put the insulation in the walls, we lined the walls, we put the furring channels on, and then we put the insulation in the ceiling. And then finally my mate Tony from DNA Plastering came and helped me put the ceiling sheets on and do all the setting, and this turned out amazing. And so now in stage 8, we're going to finish off the ensuite. And so this is really technical, but I'm going to show you how to do the primer, the waterproofing, the floor and wall tilings, the grouting, how to place the silicone on, and also painting the ceiling, which is with a special paint. And if I have time, I'll also put some of the PC items on. And so now the tiles I'm using are from Touch Surfaces, and they are importers and distributors in Australia, and they service all levels of the market, but I'll speak more about them as we progress. And so now this is going to be very messy, so I'm going to get changed and get into it. This room has now been prepared, ready for waterproofing. Now, one thing to note in bathrooms, fair trading say up to 70% of waterproofing fails, and it fails for a number of reasons. So I'm going to go through all the technical things you need to do. I do have a waterproofing license on top of carpentry and also bathroom, kitchen and laundry renovations, and I've done a lot in my time. And so when you're setting in the bathroom for the walls, you need to use a compound that does not re-emulsify. Now this particular product is made by James Hardy, and it's an external product but can be used internally. And so now what I've done is 2 base coats of that. So when I finished the second coat, I went through and scraped the walls and made sure that there's no jagged edges. So now this dwarf wall, if you haven't seen one before, I've done many of them. And now once you put your screws in, it braces it very tight. And when you tile it, it becomes even more stronger. Okay, so now the first stage of waterproofing is putting in a bond breaker. And usually I use a neutral cured silicone, and this one's made by Sika. Now I'm not gonna do that yet because there's one thing I've got to do just before. Now this is called a puddle flange. So now I need to recess that below the floor surfaces so the water can come in. Now I will be using a respiratory mask. And I've got to say the biggest killer in the building trade is silicosis, and bathroom renovations is high on the list of danger. Now I did get this puddle flange from Reese Plumbing, and also got the smart waste. This is a small smart waste, it's only 100 mil, and I got this from All Purpose Tiles in Penrith. So I'm just lining this up with a pipe. Just see if this puddle flange works. Beautiful, and lines up perfectly with the hole inside. I'm not going to screw this in. If you did put a screw on that and you waterproof it, it causes a bit of a bulge, and later when someone walks on it, the tiler or whoever, they can actually kick that off, and then the waterproofing fails. And there we go. How beautiful is that? Oh, beautiful. So now we're ready to put on the bond breaker. Now in preparation of that, I did actually sweep down the walls. Then I swept the floors gently around the puddle flanges. And then I went through and vacuumed in all the tight spaces, taking out all the debris and also in the joins. And then when I finished that, I wiped it down with a moist sponge. And so I let it dry and now we're ready to go. Now to help me put on the bond breaker, the silicone, I'm going to use this rubber made by Paint Partner. Now they have all these different sizes, but what we need is a 10 mil, which is this section here. Just one last thing, I did cut the tip back a bit to let more silicone out. So we need to get around about that 10 mil diameter to make this work. And now to put this on is quite easy. So basically just take it to the edge and you can see that's a fair amount. And I'm letting it go underneath as well. All right, so now I'll just spray some water on. Once again, that's the 10 mil area there. I basically just place it against the wall and the floor and just drag that across. Now you can see how much silicone I've put. Okay, so now I'll just give it another quick spray and just clean it up. Okay, you don't want any jagged edges anywhere. So that's looking really, really good. Okay, so now in the shower area, there is a ruling through Australian standards and fair trading. They say that you need to have your waterproofing as high as your rows. Beautiful, nice and smooth. Coming to the end, I'm now doing the gaps between the floorboards. But one thing I've got to say, when you're doing the external walls outside the shower area, you only need to come up 200 mil. But because of the nature of this tiny home, with the potential movement that it may have, I've decided to go up with silicone on all the internal walls. I'm also going to do the puddle flange. So I'm just going to go around the outside. Okay, so now I've got a 20 by 25 millimeter angle and I'm going to cut it up to fit inside here. It will sit on the outer part of the internal cavity slider area, so roughly where the doors come in. So I'm going to come in around about 5 mil and also I'm going to return it back to here. So I'm putting the 25 mil on the ground and I'm using the 20 mil for the tile height. That's cut. So now all I'm going to do is bend that back at the 700 mil mark, just to there. And this will basically sit in this area. It's perfect actually. Okay, so I know by the guide here where the door comes to, so I'm just going to the edge of that, 1663. So pretty much that's it there. I'm just going to put a mark in. Perfect. Okay, the silicone is now touch dry and I'm now ready to put on the primer, and the primer I'm using is Davco Prime Mix, and I've been using this product for a long time and it works really, really well. And so this product is good for fibre cement substrates and also for concrete, but the only thing is you need to make sure that there's no dust or dirt. So this is all clean. Now from this point on, you need to start the waterproofing no more than 24 hours after applying it. And you know it's dry when it starts to when it doesn't look milky, and you can feel it, it's dry. When you're waterproofing a bathroom around the vanity, you usually only need to go about 1200 high, just around where the water is, and around the side as well. But because this is only a small ensuite, I'm actually going to waterproof the whole room. You don't normally do that. Now we're ready to apply the waterproofing membrane. So I allowed the primer to dry overnight because it was getting a bit late and a bit cold. And now the product I'm using is made by Davco and it's their K10 Plus. It's a class 3 waterproofing membrane and it's a polyurethane. So you can't apply this under 5 degrees or over 35 degrees Celsius. I've got these bands ready. I've cut them up and these are going to be applied to the external part of the villa boards on this dwarf wall and around the window. And once again, I have a waterproofing license, and when I did my course, it was strongly suggested that you try to stick to the same company when you're doing waterproofing. So for the primer, the membrane, the glue, the grout, and also the silicone. The reason being, if the waterproofing fails, the company can't say that you used the wrong product. And one thing to note, the K10 Plus has up to 500% flex. So the reason we put on the silicone in the corners and got a nice radius is because we wanted a bond breaker. So the actual waterproofing membrane will not stick to the silicone. So that allows that whole area to be free of movement. So if there's any movement, so that area probably would be around, the surface area would be about 12 millimeter of curve. And so if there's any movement, that 12 mil will be times by 500%. Now I have actually put some painter's tape around the window, but I allowed about 5 millimeters of the window still to be exposed because I'm going to waterproof into the window. So when you do apply your membrane, you don't put it on too thin or too thick. Just a nice smooth consistency. All right, so now just put the band on. I'm now using a 100mm brush, a 4-inch brush, which is what's recommended when you're waterproofing, usually the walls and the floors. So now around the penetrations, I'll make sure that I cover any of these holes so water can't get out. Okay, so now I'll just put this one on. So I'm just doing around the puddle flange as well, just inside. Okay, now with the shower wall, more than anywhere else in the bathroom, you need to be careful, and also the shower floor. Now, one thing I didn't point out with the silicone, I siliconed up in between the billboard and the door jamb. So that was really important to do. Okay, the trim is done. Now I'm going to start rolling. Okay, the first coat's dry. I've given it more than 2 hours. And so now I'm just going through and giving it a second coat. Now, I did actually store everything in a cling wrap, a glad wrap, and I've undone it all and just put some more membrane in the tray. So one thing to note, when you do let it dry, you've got to look around to see if you've got anything that sticks out, and you want to shave that off, take it off with a razor. So when you do the second coat, it's a lot smoother, so there's no bumps or lumps anywhere. And another thing to note, that it's recommended that you go 90 degree to the last coat you gave. So if you went this way, now you got to go this way. Okay, and also look out for little pinholes. It's very common to have pinholes in the first coat of waterproofing. Okay, second coat is now complete and looks fantastic. And so I'll let this dry overnight and just in time to start tiling in the morning. After a crazy day doing the waterproofing, it's now ready for my mate Louie. He's just arrived and he's getting himself ready. So this stage of the video is in collaboration with Touch Surfaces. I'd like to say a big thank you to Charbel for organising the tiles for us. And so Touch Surfaces, as I said before, are importers and distributors in Australia, and they service the lower, middle and upper end of the market, but they also service designers and architects. Louie, thank you once again for coming. Thank you very much. So I do have a spinal injury and I struggle to be on the ground for long periods. And I was speaking to Louie just a short while ago, a few weeks ago actually, and he said he might come and give me a hand. And so he's going to do just the floor for me because I'm going to struggle. So how's things going, Louie? How you been?
Pretty good, thanks, mate. Yeah, very good.
So now we've done the set out and the tiles are just under 300. Yep. We're going to use 3mm spaces. One thing to note, fair trading through the NCC say that you need minimum 3mm grout joins for the floors, and that's what we're going to be doing here. 1600 is the room size, just under. So we're going to start the tiles in the middle of that 1600 and work outwards because the tiles are going to come to 1500 and we don't want to have small cuts on the ends. So instead, we're going to have a larger cut. I think it comes to just under 200mm.
That's correct.
Yeah. So the glue we're using is Davco Ultraflex. I've been using them for a long time. And now because the tiny home is going to have a little bit of movement, we're not expecting much. I'm using the Ultraflex because it has a rubber base in it and I find it's really good. So if there's any movement, it can actually move with it. One thing with the set outs, when you do them, you've got to take in consideration the walls. And so this dwarf wall, the tile will come roughly in the middle, which is going to be a nice cut. But you can see there where Louie's marked out around the waist, it's not that fantastic a cut. And you have to spline the tile, cut the tile to allow the water to fall hard into the waist. So now with the tile, it'll have a direction. And so, Louis, can you just show me where the direction is?
Yep, the
just there? Yep, and you're running to the shower wall. Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Fair trading say, through the Australian standards, the NCC and BCA, that you need a 1 in 80 fall in the bathroom area. So that's minimum, and maximum is 1 in 50, so you can't have it too steep either. So what trowel size are you using there?
This is a 12 mil.
Okay, so the Australian standards say that you need to cover your tile 90% with glue. So Louis is direct sticking onto the waterproofing membrane, so you've got to be very careful with the trowel not to rip it. Oh, that's good.
This one's got heaps, which is fine because it's going to fall there anyway.
Yep.
That's got plenty as well. Yep, plenty of fall there.
So Louis gone through and he's marked out the waste and gone through and cut it with the tile cutter, and then cut the 4 sides of the waste. So Louis just gone through and cleaned all the glue out. Now he's just cleaned the tile, and he'll try the smart waste, see how that looks. Oh, that's beautiful, right?
Oh, it's going to work fantastic.
Okay, so now Louis done the shower area. It is the hardest area to do. So now he's going to come around this way and then go to the back wall and come back this direction and finish off in the door. One thing I didn't mention, these tiles are rated at a P3, so that's the bare minimum. You don't want to use slippery tiles in the shower area for obvious reasons. So we've got a really good fall coming from the waste to the internal cavity sliding door. Now we've changed the direction of the fall going now into this waste. We had to make a little bit of a cut in this corner here because the direction of the tiles, but now it's looking fantastic. Okay, so with Dafca's Ultraflex, it's 6 to 8 litres per 20 kilos. Okay, so once it's mixed in, then you leave it for 5 minutes and come back and mix it again. Okay, here you go, Louis.
Thank you.
Louis, this is looking amazing. Thank you very much. And I forgot to say, Louis is also known as Elias or Elias.
Elias is, works for me.
Okay, so now I'm going to put on the grout. In preparation, I've gone through and taken all the spaces out, and also very carefully, without damaging the waterproofing, I've cleaned between the grout joints and just take some of the glue out that might have been a bit too high. So you want the grout to come to the top of the tile, just with a slight recess, not much. I've also gone through and cleaned the floors so it doesn't mix in with the grout, and I cleaned out the drains. These have their own traps, the shower and the floor waste. So I finally poured some water down the drain, so now they are free of any stink. Now the last thing I'm going to do before I grout is actually glue in the floor waste. So with the glue, I generally don't make it too soft when I'm putting in the waste. And I'll just put it in every corner at this point. That's beautiful. And I'll just go right around. Okay, so now I've just gone through and put wedges all the way around. That's fantastic. I'm going to leave it like that and let it dry. And so when I do grout, I won't grout this area for at least another 24 hours, but I will grout around it. So now the grout I'm going to be using is made by Davco, and this is gunmetal grey. So it does say that this will cover 9 square meters. Now we have 4 square meters here, but we're using a 3mm grout joint, and these tiles are a 300 by 300. Okay, so this is the color, and I think that's going to match pretty good. Okay, so now I'm just going to use a grout applicator. This is just a foam on a handle, and it makes it very easy to use. And I won't do the edges, but I'm just going to do pretty much the grout joints, and I'm going to go 2 directions to get that right in. You don't want any air pockets in there. Okay, so sometimes it might get a bit hard as you're running it around. You may need to dilute it a bit. Now, to wipe this off is actually quite easy. I use a big sponge, just wet it first, and then I squeeze out all the water. So there's no more water in it. And what I do is just then drag that over, just nice and soft. Just moisten it up a bit and just wipe that off. You do not take too much off. Now, I'm just going to give this one quick wipe. This is why I use a big sponge, and just give it one wipe to take the remainder of the thick residue off. Now when this does dry up, it will still have some powdery residue on top. Just leave that. You can wipe it down when the grout is actually fully dried. Done. This looks amazing. So it's been around 24 hours and the grout is now dry, and also the glue for the wastes. And so I've gone through, taken all the wedges out, gave it a quick clean. So now I'm gonna put some silicone around the perimeter of the internal corners, so in preparation for the walls. Now the reason I'm doing that, because if any water does go to the back, it won't go behind the tiles and in through the substrate. It will just basically just go down the tiles and run into the waste. Okay, so I'm treating it the exact same way as when I did the bond breaker, but as I said, I'm using the 0 here, and I'll just wipe that off. Okay, that's all done, and I'm gonna leave this to dry probably 24 hours. All right, so now while I'm waiting for the silicone to dry, I've cut up these architraves to put around the door. So what it'll do basically is trim it for me to actually put the tile against, and on the top here, when I'm tiling above, it's somewhere to place the tile. Now this timber is a finger jointed pine and it's pre-coated. It is 18mm pencil round. So I took an internal measurement earlier, and then I added 66mm plus 5mm to go past the opening reveal. So it's going to sit basically 5mm either side. Okay, so now one thing to take into consideration, the sliding door jambs are only 30mm or just under. So if you put a nail in there and it goes too far, that's not going to be good for the sliding door. So I'm going to use 32mm nails to go through this 18mm timber and to have a bite inside. Now on this side here, I can use longer nails, and I will be doing that. All right, so now I'll just nail this in, not too close to the edge because it will actually splint it. Now when I cut the length of these, I did actually come off the ground by 2mm. So just a very small amount, just so water doesn't touch the timbers. Okay, so I'm gonna put some extra nails in here because my mate Mario is gonna come and help me paint, and he loves nails. Okay, so I've taken out the 32mm nails, and now I'm gonna put 50mm nails in. All right. Okay, so this is done. The silicone has now cured and we're ready to start tiling the walls, and this is the exciting bit. You're gonna actually see how it looks like, and I'm really looking forward to this. And so I put 4 tiles on the floor and put the spaces in between and got the measurement. Now you need to do that because when you start your first row of tiles on the floor, you will need to cut a little bit off. The reason being, we've got 2 floor wastes here, one next to the door and one in the shower. Now this floor waste next to the door has a big climb to that corner there, which means that the further you go, the higher the tile is going to be, and it's going to be less actual height from my mark. And so here in the shower area, it's not very far from the waste at all, so the climb is less. So I'm going to start at this point here and mark it out. And also I'll be following the same procedure Louie did to apply the wall tiles. So I've put some cardboard on the ground from the tile boxes, just so if any glue drops, it drops on the boxes, not on the tiles. One thing I forgot to mention, these tiles are going to be 600 by 300, and I'm going to be putting them on horizontal, which will take up 2 floor tiles. Now the room is 2.1 meters wide, and if I want full tiles in here, it really needs to be 2.4. So we've chosen to do just the half cuts on one side. Okay, so now the reason I started at 1.2 or thereabouts is because this dwarf wall is in the way. So normally I would just start on the ground, the first height of the tile. Beautiful, they line up perfectly from one side to the other. Okay, so I put the markings on the wall, make it easier for me. So this one here was 292, I've taken 2mm off. This one was 290, I've taken 2mm off. And this one here was 288, I've taken 2mm off. Now I'll just get a width. Now in the width, I'm gonna actually take off 5mm, not 2mm. Okay, so now I'll treat the right side a little different. Now this is an external corner, this will be tiled, and so I have to allow for that. If I did too short, I'm going to be putting a trim here and it won't sit well. So I need to let the tile go past this area. I've checked with the level, if it's dead level, and it's pretty close. I'm pretty happy with that. And so what I've done is mark the middle between the 2 tiles, the floor's being 3mm, the wall's 1.5. And that comes to 488mm. Now, even though it's still going to come across half of the 1.5 grout joint, it's not enough. So I'm actually going to make that 489. All right, so now I'll just place the first tile and I'm going to place it on the floor grout joint. So now we'll use some wedges and prop it up, that 2 mil I was referring to earlier. Before I go too far, I will put a level on this to go horizontal and just see how that's looking. So the base is sticking in a little bit too much. I'll just push the base in. Beautiful. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to use some floor levelers. Louie left these for me. So basically this is just to help the tiles sit straight. And I'll put this tile in. Okay, beautiful. All right, so now just grab my 1200 level and make sure, oh, that is dead perfect. Just check the level this way as well. I'll just put the level on top. Beautiful. Okay, so now I'll just put on this brown section that actually locks it in. Now you've got to be careful, they do push apart when you lock these. Don't do it too tight and keep the tiles together while you're doing it. Okay, I'm back and I've got my mate Eugene again.
Hey everyone.
So I managed to finish off this section of the wall. I was hoping to do the other side before Eugene came, but it was getting dark. And the problem is when you're tiling, you need to see what you're doing. It needs to be done properly. There's a few things I've got Eugene to do. So he's already mixed the glue for me. He's done a good job. We're ready to go. And also I'm gonna get Eugene to take these things off. So in other words, I'll break this off, show you how this comes off. So you just tap them like that. And then once they're tapped off, this section here, which is the spacers, they're no longer needed. You just throw them away and you keep these sections and you use them again. Okay, so I've placed the first tile and this is looking good. I'll just do exactly the same as what I did the other side. So I've got the wedges. All right, so what I'm doing here is just measuring on the top of the first tile up to the original mark at the 1.2 meter level. And then what I do is then just check that measurement and go to the other side and see do they look the same. That is spot on, perfect. Okay, this is looking fantastic. We've gone through, finished off this side wall. We've done the other side of the shower wall. We've started here and it's looking fantastic, but there's a lot of things you need to know at this point. So when you're doing two opposite sides that are gonna meet at one point, you need to make sure, put your level on and with your measuring tape, measure your distance, and it has to be exactly the same both sides. You have very little play with that. And also, you need to follow your tiles. So when they come up here, they need to marry up perfectly with the right grout joint, 1.5 in this case. So we've been very cautious. You've got to make sure that the tile that comes off that at 90 degree is at the exact same level as well. And that's how you're going to get the right height. All right, so now I'm ready to trim off the dwarf wall. And there's a couple of things you need to do in preparation before you do that. I will be using 11 mil angles. So what I've done is basically just got the size to the edge here and cut this on a 45 degree angle and then also did the height, so both sides. And then I filed it down to make sure that it is, they meet up nicely together, and they do. And one other thing I did in preparation, I made sure that my tiles are straight because if one's higher than the other, the trim's not gonna sit down properly. So I put my level on there, make sure it's straight. I marked out where there's any high points and then just very gently with a grinder, just grind cut the areas where I need it. So the shower area is a slightly lower than this side. So the water will fall off just marginally. So this is our good edge. This is the cut edge. I'm just gonna put it to the back. I'm gonna line it up with the grout joint as best I can. Okay, so that's looking good. Just check my level. Beautiful. You can see it's just to the line there and there's a bigger gap there. So the fall is coming this way. That fits in beautifully. All right, so I put a couple of strips of painter's tape on there. All right, I'll just put this in place. Beautiful, this is excellent. The dwarf wall finished up beautifully. So I've got a heap of sticky tape on there holding all the trims in place. And also you'll notice that the 45 degree angles came up beautifully together. There's hardly any lipping anywhere between the angles or the tiles. And there's a little piece on the front, which I put there just to finish off the tile. You need to put something. So it's just sandwiched in between the side trims. So now I'm gonna cut a piece around the window. So I've just basically put this tile in just to lock it in place with this leveler. And then I've measured off. And so what I've done here, I've measured off 14 mil past the reveal of the window, which is just there, and the same with the height. And so when the trim sits on, the trim will sit across and down, and the trim will add another 2 millimeters to it. So 14 mil plus 2 mil, that's 16 mil. Okay, this cut beautifully. Now, there's one thing to note when you are working on ladders, be really, really careful. Most accidents happen on short ladders. Okay, so last tile going on, and it's a taper cut. It's been a little bit of a struggle doing this, but it's actually not that bad. I thought it was gonna be worse. I've asked Eugene to come back and give me a hand because I really struggled doing the lower tiles. And so, but Eugene, what do you think?
It's beautiful. The tiles look really good.
So now what we're going to do is put white tiles up against them. Once again, I'm going to apologize about the lighting. I can't do anything about it. So now that we put the white on the wall, the room will light up much more evenly. So in preparation, Eugene's knocked off all the levelers and he's done a big cleanup. And I've gone through and marked a line where the white tiles are going to go, pretty much the same way as I did for the feature wall. But one thing to note, when you've got different colored tiles, now these are also porcelain, by the way, almost the same size, but when you've got different type of tiles, when you're trying to match your floor and your walls to get a straight grout joint, it's not always possible. So we are going 1.5 mil grout joint on these as well. So this is exactly 490, but I'm going to take off there 4 millimeters. So it allows a grout joint there and also a grout joint there. Okay, so I'm just going to mark there for the tap. I'll cut this out. All right, that's looking good. Eugene, this turned out fantastic. Look at the level, it's spot on. And that's beaming it from the left side to the right side. So Eugene, thank you for getting me off the ground. As you know, I get a lot of cramps and sore legs, so you've helped me heaps. And so Eugene, I want to ask you, before you go, what do you think of the tiny home now from the time you came and did the colour bond?
Well, when we first came in, there wasn't even a roof.
It looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I've just cut around the PowerPoint. I'm going to finish off this wall first. So I've cut through the penetration for the toilet and also for the basins. So they're done. So now I'll just run these up and finish it off. And then I'll go to the east wall and then I'll come around and finish the south wall. All right, so one thing to note with tiles. Now these are two very different tiles, but they're almost the same size. The tolerance is just very minor. They are slightly creeping up. And so they're going beyond the grout joint just in this corner here. Hey, Bob. Good timing. Thanks for coming.
Hey Musa, you're welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good. What do you think of the tiny home?
It's excellent. Come along nice.
So what I want to do, if it's okay with you, Bob, I just want to sit a glass across here, up the wall, to your normal height.
Can you go up near the window or is that too high?
Aesthetically would look better, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. What colour's all your tapware and fittings?
They're chrome. So yeah, same as this. For this here, you're going to silicone the glass to the dwarf wall,
yeah.
And then you're going to put brackets in here. Is that right?
Two brackets or a channel? We do both.
It's up to you. What do you think?
If we use a channel as opposed to the brackets,
Yep.
Most of the silicone that's doing the ceiling
Yep.
is not as visible as if you use the brackets.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Because the bracket's only very small, like 50 mil or 40
the
mil.
brackets, the glass is about 3 to 4 mil off the wall, and then you have a silicone joint.
Yeah.
But the channel's hard against the wall. You still have a silicone seal, but
Yeah.
you don't have a big silicone.
Yeah. No, good.
Okay.
I think I'd like that. So, Bob, just while you're measuring, how's Penrith Valley Glass going?
We're going really good.
Yeah.
Really busy.
I have to wait 2 weeks for you.
We can only get to so many people in. Oh, beautiful.
How much tolerance?
Fun and level.
Still got it, Bob?
Shouldn't have doubted you, should I? Chrome channel, 10 mil clear toughened glass. Now, with this exposed corner that's frameless, do you just want a square or do you want a radius?
No, square's better. Square's better. And Bob, just here, I want to put a mirror. So I just want it glued on. I haven't got the vanity, obviously, yet. Yep. Is that A50, is it?
About halfway up that tile.
If someone's that much, yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much, Bob.
You're welcome. Thanks for getting out.
Okay, this is all coming together and it's looking fantastic. So the east wall's done, the shower wall, and then I started on the south wall and I've come across only a couple of more pieces up the top. I had to be very careful to make sure that that's level with the grout joint and it fits perfectly. This is coming together beautifully. And so now I've got to make sure that it comes down to the grout joint to the ground and see if that's level. So I'll just put the level in place. It's there. Perfect. Okay, last tile. This is looking incredible. I love it. Oh, perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to put the tile into the smart waste. So this basically just sits on top of the smart waste. So when you're standing on it, you don't feel the grate. Don't be worried if you put too much glue. It's better putting more than less. It will ooze out. All right, that looks fantastic. Very happy with that. One thing to note, when you are tiling into a window, you need to do the base first and let it sit for a while. And then when it dries enough, you then do the sides and then go up the top. Now for the top, I do have this cut tile here, just holding that in place. Okay, I'll just put a leveler on this one. Okay, the tiling's done and it looks amazing. So while I'm waiting for the glue to dry, I decided to paint the ceiling in the ensuite. So I've gone through and put the 3M Scotch blue tape, which is a painter's tape, and just prepared the walls. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put some sealer undercoat. So when you've got some fresh board, some plasterboard, you need to put a sealer undercoat. So I'm gonna put one sealer coat, let that dry for a couple of hours. Then I'm gonna go through and put this special paint. This is made by Dulux. It's a ceiling, kitchen and bathroom paint. It has a mold inhibitor in it. I've been using it for years and I've got to tell you, I've had no problem with it. Okay, so I've cut it in. Now I'll get out the roller and do the rest. This is looking amazing. I am so happy with this, and there's so much light in here now, which is exactly what I was looking for. And so after I put on the sealer undercoat, I went through and put the top coat, and then when it was all dry, I took the sticky tape off and then took all the levelers out, the wedges, cleaned everything up. I also took the cardboard off the ground. Then also with the scraper, I went through and cleaned some of the grout joints, especially on the waist. So you do need to clean your grout joints if there's any glue, because you'll find that the grout will be a different color to your glue if you're using the gray. And especially in the white, I'm going to be putting white grout. You're going to make sure there is no glue in there. So after many, many years, my grout applicator broke, and so now I've got a new one. Woohoo! We're on the home stretch and this is almost complete. And so once I finished putting the white grout on, I then went through and wiped it off, same as what I did for the feature wall. And I gave it 24 hours to dry. And then I went through with a towel and wiped off all the residue because I'm gonna do the silicone next, and silicone will not stick to the substrate if it's dusty. And this silicone is made for bathrooms and kitchens, and it has a mold inhibitor in it, and it's also neutral cured. And so now I'm gonna start off with the feature wall. This color is actually called pewter. Now it's really hard to see how the silicone looks like when you're buying it. So we had a tile with us, we matched it the best we could. Now just a bit of a trick, when they're putting these silicone tubes together, sometimes there's a little bit of spillage. So you can look inside and you can see the color. And so I'm gonna apply this silicone pretty much the same way as I did the bond breaker. Okay, the pewter's now complete. So now because we've got the white on top of the feature wall, we're gonna have to be really careful. We're gonna have to do this a couple of times to make sure we get it off that feature wall. So all I've got to do now is just put some silicone around the penetrations. All right, so all the silicone is now done. Okay, so now it's time to put on the shower rose, or also known as a shower head. And this is a Chroma Luna. I basically have the Teflon in this direction. So on my left side, I'm holding the Teflon. On the right side, I'm holding the spool, and the spool is coming from underneath. And basically just start there, go around, and you make sure that the Teflon does not enter in this area here, because that will actually clog up the shower head because it breaks away. So now one thing to note, when you are putting the shower head on, it does, or the arm, Chroma do say that make sure that the fitting doesn't stick out too far, because if it does, it's going to go all the way inside and hit the inner channel, and that's going to falter it. You do have to have this square section up against the tile. You don't scratch it, you don't go hard, you just go light and easy, so you don't over tighten it, hence why we put a lot of Teflon. So if it's too long, you will have to cut it back. Now that's roughly about probably just under 20 mil. Okay. I would say one more is going to do it. And it does. That's perfect. All right, so now we put on the shower head or shower rose. And basically this already has a washer inside. It has a restrictor. I am going to keep that restrictor on because this is a tiny home. We don't have a lot of water to run through it. All right, so now just make sure it screws on, and beautiful. Okay, so now the flick mixer is just as easy. So this is the cover plate, and all you do is just sit this cover plate pretty much on top like that. Now that's done. Now all we've got to do is put on the handle. Okay, so I'm just going to insert the Allen key first. Basically, it's just the grommet is here, so you've got to go from underneath. They put a little hole there for you to go through, and we'll seal that up in a minute. So you hold that in position, hit that on, and then just tighten it. There we go, look at that. All right, that's tight. Okay, so now all we do is just put this little plug underneath to close that off. Okay, it's all done. I just noticed that the cover plate is the wrong way around. I'll just turn it the right way. The word Chroma is supposed to be on the bottom. Anyway, this is looking fantastic. And just in time, Charbel from Touch Surfaces is gonna come soon. Okay, everything's dry, looks fantastic, and Charbel just arrived.
Hey guys.
Hey Charbel, what do you think?
Look, I think it looks wonderful. The floor to ceiling tiles look great. The tiling itself, I have to really commend you, Musa. Because, truly, I spoke to you before about the lippage and whatnot, and you told me you don't like lippage either. I haven't seen any lippage here at all. But also the cuts and everything, and the grout joints are all lining up really well.
But can I tell you, I'm going to jump in and say,
Sure.
Mate, regardless whether you sell your low end, middle or upper end tiles, these are high quality. And I've got to say, very impressed with the way Charbel brought the samples over to me, and he's very good with color. I found that really, for me, the service was great. Thank you very much, Charbel.
I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad it turned out so beautifully. Well done.
Yeah, and also the white tile. Now, it's very hard to get a porcelain that is white. Now, and also is this a matte finish or a low sheen?
So it's a low sheen matte finish.
Yep.
But it is, as you said, Musa, it's the whitest porcelain tile on the market.
Yeah.
It
looks beautiful.
Yeah, it looks stunning. It looks like it really does look pure, especially with the natural light in here. It does look pure white.
So what do you think of my dwarf wall?
I love it. I think it's great. I think it serves so many purposes technically, but also from an aesthetic perspective.
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it?
It looks amazing.
So I want you on camera to give this a hit as hard as you can here. Go.
Just with my hand?
Yeah.
Wow.
There was no movement. I love doing these little walls.
They look great.
Yeah, and I love doing wet areas. Now, I don't know how this is going to work out. This is a very small, tight area, and it's really hard to actually get a wet area in a small area like this. So Louie, he's fantastic. He's done a big fall, but I actually don't know if it's going to break the line or not, if the water's going to stay in this area. Okay, let's try it out. Okay, well, so far it's looking really good. Louie, you've done it again. It's only coming up to the first tile past the waist. This is looking really good. Beautiful. So Charbel, with Touch Surfaces, how long have you been operating for, roughly?
We've been operating for roughly 7 years.
You don't just distribute to retail stores, but you also deal with architects and designers, is that right?
Yes, that's correct, yes. So we deal with architects and designers, but we also deal with builders, developers and tilers too.
Fantastic. So if you're looking for Touch Surfaces, they basically service the whole of Australia. They have a store locator on their website. So if you like, I'll put a link for them in the descriptions below. What's the website?
It's touchsurfaces.com.au.
Now, saying that, I also want to thank my mate Louie. What a great job he done. Him and I went to school together. We've been friends for a long, long time. But I also want to thank Eugene. We made a video together doing a bathroom renovation. I will put a link for that in the descriptions below. And I'd also like to thank the guys at Davco. They always give me a great service when I ring them and ask for advice. And I tend to stick to their product because it's proven it works well. And as I said before, you really need to stick to the one product or company that does the whole range. So if anything fails, you know where to go to. So the next stage is stage 9, where my mate Mario from Crow 80 Painting is going to come here and give me a hand and some suggestions, some ideas on painting the tiny home. This is just going to look brilliant. We're going to put the skirting boards on. Then after that, my mate Danny, the electrician, is going to come and do all the fit offs. And we're also going to build the cupboard. And finally, my mate John from Darnie Air Conditioning is going to send the guys to fit the air conditioning. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any comments at all, please leave them below and I will get back to you. And I'd ask you, please consider to subscribe, hit the like button and share this video, and there's many more to come. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
That's how I roll, Louie.
That's you. Oh, you keep rolling that way.
That's the way you roll, I know.
That's the way I roll.
I just wanted to hear you say it. Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
So get ready to say hello. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Eugene, can you pass me the saber, please?
Hey, bro.
If someone's that much, yeah, that's fine.
No one will be that tall. No
Yeah,
chance.
yeah. Not like us, Bob.